David Corn, I'd like to ask you: is it possible that, in essence, what's going on here is a bifurcating of the movement? That, in essence, that the Obama campaign is developing a hawkish foreign policy, and while at the same time making changes on domestic policy. A lot of the people that you mentioned that are progressive are more domestically oriented, with the exception of the financial crisis, which still to be determined who he's going to name to run the financial aspect of his administration. But that he could, in essence, be trying to bifurcate his movement.
Well, I don't think there's a conscious decision to do that. And I think it's still, I hate to, use cliches here, too soon to tell. Listen, Obama got a lot of grief during the campaign trail for his statement that he wanted to reach out to our enemies and have direct negotiations with heads of states from what some people consider to be thuggish, roguish regimes. And, did he ever run away from that position? No, actually, he stuck by that position, and he had people, some of whom Jeremy is named, come out and defend that position. And even when Hillary and others took shots at him. So if that becomes a component of his foreign policy, it will be far more progressive than George W. Bush and even Bill Clinton. Now, we don't know what's going to happen because we haven't seen him make yet a single decision. And foreign policy is often decided in terms of a reaction to what's happening out in the world in the first place. Some crisis comes along, and you see how people respond. When Bill Clinton, bombed Iraq, when this spotty intelligence came out that Iraq had tried to kill the first President Bush when he was visiting Kuwait, intelligence and news reports were very, very sketchy. He said, "Oh, there you go. He's afraid not to do this stuff, so he's going to do this to score political points," and that gives you a good indication of what his foreign policy is going to be and who he's going to listen to. And I think we'll all be looking very closely at some of these first, acts that Barack Obama makes. He has said that the priority is to close Gitmo, regardless of who he's put on the transition team to talk about intelligence issues. He can be judged according to what he has said, what's on his to-do list. And if in the first month, 2 or 3, there's no progress there, or he does it in a way that's problematic, then you can say, look, he's obviously not sticking to what he said, and he's probably being influenced by these other folks. But at the same time, if he makes good on some of that stuff, and even, I think, if he were smart, he'd try to bring John McCain or other people, some Republicans, into that effort to have a bipartisan push to get rid of Guantanamo. That would send a tremendous signal, I think, to the rest of the world. That's an issue that's both symbolic and real. It's real to the hundreds of people who are there, and it's real to the people who have been involved with, from the American side in what goes on down there, who have felt terrible about it. The whistleblowers who you've had on your show and we've talked to. And of course, it's highly symbolic. So I am always guarded. I am not Pollyannish about anybody, be they Democrat or Republican. But I do think that he said some pretty swell things during the campaign, and he set the bar high, and he set a measure against which he can be judged.
Jeremy, your last response on this, and also respond to how you identified yourself at the end of this alternate.org piece. This is change. Jeremy Scahill pledges to be the same journalist under an Obama administration that he was during Bill Clinton and George Bush's presidencies.
Right. I mean, I think, I pay very close attention to what the independent media are saying and what bloggers and others are saying. And I think what a sort of disturbing trend is that we have sort of blue state Fox emerging, where people are, sort of treating Obama in a different way than they would treat Bush or anyone else in power. And I think, remember when Bush first took power, there was a tremendous outcry over all of these old Reagan hands that were being brought back in, and the neoconservatives and others. I mean, I think the time is now to call the question on the involvement of some of these people, that this is the precise moment when this kind of journalism matters, when we have to remind people of the history and the previous policies implemented by the people that are at the center of Obama's foreign policy team right now, because we're going to be living with these people for the next 4 years running the show. And I think it's incredibly important to be all over this right now before they're named.
It would be hard to find information, to find people who did not work in the Clinton administration with federal government experience?
Well, first of all, you have over 120 members of the House of Representatives who had the foresight to actually vote against the war, and you had 23 U.S. senators who voted against the war, and you have Russ Feingold, who voted against the USA Patriot Act, and you have former CIA analysts like Mel Goodman and Ray McGovern, who should be consulted and asked who they think should be running Central Intelligence and be the director of national intelligence. I mean, remember, Amy, that almost all these people have been on the show. The Obama campaign should look back at Democracy Now!'s archives to find all of these people who were very credible, who actually have been right about U.S. foreign policy, bring them into the fold.
Well, I want to thank you both for being with us. Jeremy Scahill's latest piece appears at alternet.org called This Is Change, and David Korn, Washington bureau chief of Mother Jones magazine, who writes The Agents of Change on Obama's transition team at Mother Jones' website.